So Alchemy goes out and we approach theaters and ask them, hey, we have a show, you can take a little break off, because running a theater is no joke. I encourage anybody to try it once because it's a lot of work. And sometimes you just need a break. So Alchemy, we try and find theaters who maybe have a dark month, or they don't quite have a show in the space yet, or maybe they have a show that we could work very well and rep with. And so we go out and we find the theaters and we make the contract. Anne Washburn is a wonderful woman, and she wrote this play 2014, and it went to off-Broadway and did very, very well. But when you come to see the show, you can see why it's not quite Broadway and it's not quite off-Broadway. It's this very special show that really speaks to both the theater community and people who love The Simpsons. So that's a pretty wide net in general. So that's kind of why we wanted to do it. We wanted to encourage people who might not see a theater production to come see it for The Simpsons. And then when they get here, we give them a very cool theater experience that's a dark comedy, a farce, and also like a Greek opera at the end. So it encompasses so many elements of theater, and as Alchemy, we try and do as many elements of theater as we possibly can, but we are a gypsy company. We move around from theater to theater, and so sometimes getting all those ideas into one show, and it's masterfully done by Anne Washburn. She does a fantastic job of moving from each kind of theater experience to the next. And so it's a really wonderful opportunity for Alchemy to put on the show. It was very difficult for her to get the okay to use The Simpsons. I have a feeling more so for her than for me, because every theater we deal with Sam French and Dramatist Play Service. But I also had to then deal with Fox Entertainment and send the logos to them and say, can we use this? And they say, no, that light bulb looks too much like Homer. It needs to be a different kind of light bulb. Selling merchandise and all that kind of stuff. So I think that luckily Anne Washburn deals with it very lovingly, and the show uses The Simpsons as a leaping off point, but she uses the spiritual and emotional attachment we all have to The Simpsons as opposed to the characters themselves. The characters are, again, archetypes and myths that we use to project ourselves to get through our days. Mr. Burns is a post-electric play, so it's post-apocalyptic, but there are no zombies or anything like that. It is a group of survivors getting together and needing each other for survival, not just for resources, but also for entertainment, because the only thing that anybody can really agree on in this post-electric world where there is no TV is that The Simpsons was the best thing on TV. So they're sitting around, and as a way to distract themselves from the actual horrors that are going on around them, they tell the best they can memories and stories of these Simpsons episodes. So that's Act 1, and then the second act is 7 years later. They have become a theater troupe, not unlike Alchemy, trying to put together episodes of the Simpsons episodes, along with commercials and songs and jingles and everything that goes along with them. And then the third act is 75 years later, where these people who were once survivors trying to put together these episodes have become the myths and legends themselves. So where The Simpsons become myths and archetypes in Act 2 and so on, in Act 3, The Simpsons are also the archetypes, but even the survivors that we saw in the first two acts, who are long since gone, have become myths themselves, and parts of them live on in Act 3. So the show is really about survival, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually, and what lives on after us, which is a great idea for any playwright. My actors, individually, they're all wonderful people. I could go through the list, but they're all exceptionally talented, and they're multi-talented because it's not just they have to be funny or understand The Simpsons or anything like that. Act 3 is primarily an opera. So they all sing, they all have gorgeous voices, they all have amazing comedic timing, and they're all really, really charming. You could sit down and just hang out with any of them. So they're probably the best looking cast I've ever worked with ever. And so they're just multi-talented. We don't make them dance too much because I'm not much of a dancer myself, so I don't expect that out of anybody. But I'm sure they're world-class dancers as well.
Sam is kind of, I play Sam and Scratchy, and then I throw in Troy McClure. So in a sense, it's 3 characters, but 2 main characters are Sam and Scratchy. And the nice thing about the show is there's really no one character it's an ensemble piece, really, is the best way to put it. Sam is kind of the foundation of the group. He's kind of the one who takes care of everybody in the group. And so he's a presence there, and works with everybody else. Scratchy is kind of fun because you get to be kind of a villain in the 3rd act. And even though people may know Scratchy as being kind of the guy that gets torn apart in the Itchy and Scratchy cartoons in The Simpsons, the character that Ann Washburn created is actually a pretty nice character. Get to play kind of an evil character in the whole thing. And of course, evil characters have some fun. And so it's really, really good. The Troy McClure character is also fun because I used to do radio, and I was accused of, at some point, doing that kind of Troy McClure voice. So it all fits together really nicely.
So first I play Colleen, and then I play Edna Krabappel. And Colleen, she is the director of this theater group that these survivors have come together and made. And the group is very much like a family, so it's really easy for them to get like off track and like to be distracted, but she kind of like brings them together and like keeps them focused and professional. But she still loves everyone, of course. And then Miss Krabappel, she is she's not like the original Miss Krabappel where she like has a little cigar and all that. She's like the head of the Greek chorus, and she like kind of helps Bart throughout his journey in Act 3.
So Maria is a fan of The Simpsons, but not a huge fanatic like some of the other characters at the beginning. So she's really listening and invested in their stories. And then when we create the theater company, she takes on the role of stage manager, and it's finding the props and everything that we have in modern day society, but they've kind of fallen away, like Diet Cokes. It's like, where are the Diet Cokes now? Because there's no more in circulation, and finding places for the traveling theater company to come to that would appreciate their work. And then Bart Simpson in Act 3, he's sort of become less of the spirited little scamp, but that's still in there, but also the hero and the hope that prevails through the fear.
I play Jenny in the realm of all the people coming together after this apocalypse. She is kind of the person who helps put together their shows that they do. She writes their commercials that they perform and helps piece together the missing parts of the episodes and writes those. So it's fun to kind of explore that, and she's kind of a sensitive sort of character as well, so it's fun to be able to play those emotions. And then in the Simpsons realm, I play Marge, so that's a lot of fun being able to do that, growing up seeing that character and being able to kind of portray that, but even in this sense, it's not really Marge as she is, but how she evolves into this story that they end up telling.
So I play Nelson and I play Lisa. Nelson is just for a hot minute. I'm rapping. And it's funny because Nelson is actually the bully in The Simpsons, and he initially bullies Lisa first before Bart. So it's kind of funny that I play Nelson and Lisa when he antagonized her. And then Lisa, I don't really feel like I get to be as charming as she is on the show because she's really smart and she's always helping Bart out of his shenanigans. But in this, I'm a darker side of Lisa because of all the really dark things that are happening on stage.
The characters I play are Gibson and Sideshow Bob and Homer. Gibson is a kind of a loner at the beginning. He joins the group late, kind of comes in and embodies kind of this the fear of the outside world as the group gets to know him and invites him in to join them. and Gibson was an actor in his previous life. And so as we move into Act 2 in the theater troupe, he is one of the actors and a bit of a diva at times. What I like about Gibson is that he tries very hard to keep the energy light when people are getting down and fearful in the world. He tries to bring it back to no, let's think about better things. And sometimes even that fear creeps into him as well. And it's fun to see the group help him out in the same way he helps them. The way this play uses The Simpsons is not, you're not really impersonating the character. The characters are more of, it's been said, archetypes. They're there to be the backdrop of really what this play is about, which is just the importance of storytelling. The Simpsons characters just happen to be the story that we're telling. And so playing those characters, and they're different. I'm not playing Homer Simpson as you would see Homer Simpson on TV. I'm playing Homer Simpson as this archetype of a man who's overconfident, who has the hubris and leads his family into trouble. But it's not Homer from the show. It's what Homer has become, and so it's fun, but it's very different.
I play Matt in Acts 1 and 2. In Act 2, I play a little bit of Homer. And then in Act 3, I play Mr. Burns. And it's fun because my character, Matt, and Mr. Burns really couldn't be any different. And so that's a lot of fun for me. You know, Matt is kind of the Simpsons expert a little bit in our little group. You know, he doesn't know everything about The Simpsons, but he has a really good working knowledge of it. And so, you know, he gets little details wrong here and there, but, you know, he's really the one kind of driving the stories and things like that. You know, and then in Act 3 for Mr. Burns, it's complete, he's just a complete villain. He's the villain of the piece for Act 3. And so that's fun to get to play. I've never really gotten to play a villain like that before, so it's really a lot of fun for me.
I kind of want the audience to be shocked. It's a very different show. I want them, I mean, of course it's hilarious, the show's hilarious, but there's this darkness in the show, and I want people to really think about, you know, the things that they have and maybe what it would be like if they had to live in like a post-electric society, you know, and to really take with them like what really matters.
I want them to laugh, cry. I want them to realize like that family just doesn't, it goes beyond blood and how important it is, especially like when there is an apocalypse. Like it's so important to like have that cohesiveness with each other, and how important like art is and how it brings people together.
I just want them to be able to not only enjoy it and have fun with it, but to have something to think about afterwards. I'm excited for them to kind of catch the nuances of how that story evolves as well, how it starts out with us just trying to recreate those stories, but then it evolves into more of kind of how art affects our society and how it becomes a way to cope with our feelings and be able to tell our stories of things that happen to us, but to use that medium and for it to evolve into something a little bit more meaningful.
I want them to experience the fun and the laughter that we're having. I want them to also understand what the messages that we're sending about what happens in a post-electric world. So, you know, there's the fun, but you want it thought-provoking too. And this is one show that really gives them a moment to think about what it is where we are today and what the possibilities are down the road.
You know, this play is such an experience. It's so different, you know, than anything else that's going to be around here anytime soon, really. So, I mean, I really just want them to really get that experience. You know, theater, I feel like theater should be something that challenges you and allows you to think about things. And I think this is what that play does. I think this is something that you can come and see and then have a discussion about afterward, about, you know, the themes and what things mean and things like that. And I think that's a really fun and unique experience.
I want them to get laughs out of it. The show is very funny. I also want them to maybe you walk away, you're talking over drinks afterwards about what would you put on. If there was no electricity or anything like that, what is a show that is near and dear to you, that inspires you, that would outlast civilization, I guess. And then I guess the biggest thing is to get out a sense of imagination and creativity. The show deals a lot with spectacle coming from within, so I'd like them to be excited about the possibility of theater, of just using some household items, the amazing things that you can create on stage, and that theater isn't limited to big spectacle of the Pantages or even small hole-in-the-wall theaters. You can do big things, to do more with less.